Welcome to Far From Perfect with Manny Covington. I'm your host, Manny Covington, and I'm far from perfect. And to say that it's been a minute would be an understatement of the century. Now, I've been away, and it's not that I've been doing the topic of this video, self care, even though I do take care of myself every day. It's just that I've been out doing other things, uploading music, traveling, going to concerts, which, oh my goodness, I just gotta say, Taylor Swift Eras Tour was really hype, and I'm remembering that even though it's been a month and a half. But honestly, just living life, enjoying life. But I definitely missed making these episodes, even though I've only made two so far. There's definitely going to be more in the future, and I'm excited to talk about this topic today. And even though I might be a little late on the self care train, I just wanted to give my thoughts on it and kind of talk about the balance between self-care and self-destruction, because I feel like going on either extreme, either doing too much self-care or doing not enough self-care, can ultimately lead to self-destruction. So there definitely is the balancing act that you have to do with it, and I feel it's harder to balance it, especially because it's mainly reliant on yourself and your needs. Like, only you know how much self-care that you need, only you know how much of a break that you need to take. And I feel that if you don't take enough breaks, then you're going to get burnout easily and your production levels just go down the gutter. But if you're taking too much breaks and you're not being productive at all, then it's kind of like you're just floating in this limbo. And I definitely been in both areas where I felt like I'm either not taking enough breaks at all or I'm taking too much breaks, whereas the breaks become kind of my standard, whereas doing work has just become the extra thing, where I think in reality it should be flipped. I think we can all agree that being productive to a certain extent is important. And if you just live and just take breaks all the time, more than what you actually need, more than a break than you actually need, then it's only going to end up making you self-destruct in the long term, because you're not really, if you're not focusing on the future, I'm not saying you have to always be thinking about, oh, what's my 5 year, 10 year, 20 year plan. But at the same time, taking into account your future is definitely very important. And there's something that my pastor was talking about. I hope I can bring up the note because I don't want to, misquote it. I think that would be worse. Hold on. Let me bring up my notebook. Let me see if I have it. Okay, well, my handwriting is kind of garbage. So, oh, okay. So yeah, here we go. It says we're in the book of Proverbs, and we're talking about wisdom, and something he said was, "The wisdom of the wise is doing now what you'll be happy with later." And taking breaks definitely can be a wise thing that you can do now to help you down the line later, but not taking enough breaks or not doing anything productive to help you down the line is also going to be something that isn't wise, because down the line, let's say you have a deadline and you have something due in a week, and it's, let's say Sunday, it's due next Sunday, and Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you still have a lot of time till it's done, and you were just working on this big project beforehand, so you go, oh, let me take a break. You say on Sunday, I'm going to take a break, I'll get it started on Monday. And this kind of goes into the procrastination situation. So Monday comes around, you go, oh, I went to class today, I deserve a break, I deserve to hang out with my friends. So then Tuesday comes around, I went to the gym today, I really pushed myself in the gym, so I just need a break from everything. Then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday comes along and you go, oh snap, that thing is due tomorrow. The deadline is tomorrow, and I haven't done anything towards it because I was taking a break. And I was doing self-care, which, again, I'm not knocking all of self-care. I just want to make that clear. But you were taking care of yourself, and now it comes along where you're on the opposite end, where now you're gonna have to grind 10 hours on a Saturday and possibly even more time on a Sunday, because you were spending so much time doing the self-care aspect that you didn't do the self-care aspect in the productive side, which would have led to self-care down the line. So it's kind of like doing too much self-care now can take away from the self-care later and have a more negative effect, rather than sprinkling in the self-care throughout the time. And again, This is far from perfect with Manny Covington, so I have not come close to mastering this. There's definitely times where I've grinded like way too much, not taking enough breaks. Going on one thing to the next. Just going on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and not giving myself a break because I'm like, oh, I can sleep when I'm dead. I know people say that, but at the same time, there's also been times where I'm taking too much of a break and I'm not getting enough stuff done. Whereas when later comes down the line, I definitely wasn't being wise and not being productive then and taking self care then. So it definitely is kind of like a balancing act. And again, like I said before, it's tough because that ultimately comes down to your needs, how much self-care you need, when you need to push yourself, when you can kind of slow down and take a step back and take that self-care time. And it's also really important to know what your self-care is, because someone else's self-care might not be exactly what you need to be for self-care. So someone taking a walk versus someone taking a nap, two different things, two different benefits. I don't know, some people, I don't also, this is kind of a tangent, but I don't know how people take like 30-minute naps. Like if I'm taking a nap, I'm out for like 2 hours at least, but that's besides the point. Maybe that can be another Far From Perfect episode. Don't take too long of a naps or else you're not going to be able to sleep that night, which is something that I seem to not have learned yet, but I digress. But going back to the point, just different areas of self-care, like someone area of self-care may be doing an extra workout, it may be going for a run, it may be doing something else fitness related, even though I'm not thinking of anything else fitness related now and fitness related right now, but you get the point. Whereas like this different self-care things can be different. So, and also how much, like you can do like a little, maybe you need just like half an hour a day, maybe you need a full day, maybe you need half a day, maybe you need a full weekend. It's just so self-dependent on your needs, and figuring out what those are while trying to doing the balancing act, because it really is all a balance, is definitely tough. It's definitely a tough thing to figure out. But the good thing is, once you figure out what that is, it makes everything else so much easier, because now it's taking out the decision of what am I going to do and how long I'm going to do it, and it's just turning into the how long am I going to do it and what do I need. Which, if you're not trying to figure out two different things at once, obviously it's pretty easy when you only have to try to figure out that one thing. And I know, like for me, self-care, I know I watch a lot of YouTube, so that can be like self-care in a way. Also doing Wordle, doing word game, I call it like word games, so like Wordle, Quordle, Dordle, Octordle. If you play a whole bunch of word games, you know what I'm talking about. But just doing those things, just relaxing, where I'm just relaxing, taking self-care, but I also know that I can do that after doing a certain amount of work, doing a certain amount of studying, doing a certain amount of, other tasks, which sometimes they can even blend. Like some self-care tasks can blend into like actually productive tasks. Like I know for me, working out, like, that's a form of self-care for me, but also at the same time, it's something that I know that I need to do whether I want to or not. And I would say, oh, I'm going to self-care today by taking a nap instead of working out, then that again is going to hurt me down the line. Whereas working out then doesn't turn into that self-care thing, it actually turns away from that self-care thing. And I can end up trying to compensate for missing those days and then go too hard and possibly injure myself, and then turns into self-destructing thing. Thankfully that hasn't happened, but just seeing how going from self-care to self-destruction, like it's such a fine line that we have to be able to walk, have to be able to balance. And again, a tip that I try to think of is, you can even like Google online. Like I know that that's something to do. Also like journaling, just being self-aware about yourself is definitely very important when it comes to knowing what can be self-care for you and how much you need. So I think that's like the biggest tip I can give, is just try to be self-aware and try to figure out, what do you do that gives you care? Do you feel like that you lean too much on the giving yourself too much self-care, or you lean yourself pushing yourself too hard? Because that can also be a good baseline where you can start, whereas you're going to give yourself too much self-care in the beginning, so you go, okay, I'm going to intentionally grind out harder, so that way I know that my self-care isn't taking over. And on the other hand, if you know that, oh, all I do is grind, 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 then you can know, okay, I can be intentional about adding more self-care into my routine. And I think having a routine is important. And I think, again, being intentional about, I think life is really pretty much about being intentional. Like, you have to be intentional about how you treat people, be intentional about what you eat, be intentional about how you act, be intentional about all this decisions that you make, and be intentional about how you pronounce the word intentional, because I think I'm saying intentional there. But again, going back to the point, is being intentional. Wow. Being intentional about having that self-care in, but making sure that it's the right balance for you. So thank you guys for watching or listening. Again, this is Far From Perfect with Manny Covington. I'm your host, Manny Covington, and I'm far from perfect. See you in the next episode.